Hey, Warrior Saints, good morning. Welcome to Wednesday's episode of our Crucifixional live stream. Glad to have all of you beautiful people with us. We have been talking about rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. And as we know from the books in the Old Testament of Ezra and Nehemiah, the city of Jerusalem had been destroyed by the Babylonians because the people of God had disobeyed God's commandments, and he allowed or even called the Babylonians to crush them, to teach them about life with his commandments. And he sends his servant Nehemiah, which the name Nehemiah means Yahweh, the Lord, comforts, to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem and to restore the city gates, which, as we talked about on Monday, is protection and wisdom. And as Nehemiah goes back, he recognizes and takes responsibility, ownership for his life and his sins, and the sins of his people and of his father's house, that being the reason for the destruction of Jerusalem. And today we continue with the verses 8, 9, and 10 of chapter 1. And he says the following: "Remember the word that you commanded your servant Moses, saying, if you are unfaithful," and here he means unfaithful to the commandments of God, "I will scatter you among the peoples." In other words, if you cheat on me by disobeying my commandments, I'm going to let you be attacked and spread all over the place, which is exactly what happened. "But if you return to me and keep my commandments and do them, though your outcasts are in the uttermost parts of heaven, from there I will gather them and bring them to the place that I have chosen to make my name dwell there. They are your servants and your people, whom you have redeemed by your great power and by your strong hand." Here, what God is saying to Nehemiah is that if you disobey my commandments, look, I promised you I'm going to allow you to be crushed, and that's what happened with the Babylonians. But if you return, if you repent, and you come back, I'm going to build you up. And so the message there to Nehemiah is that so Jerusalem is the city, right? But he's also talking about the hearts of men, right? We are Jerusalem. Do you understand that? And as we rebuild the walls of Jerusalem with this protection and this wisdom, it requires a return to the commandments of God, right? Like if you haven't read Nehemiah, at least read the first chapter. You'll see it. It's all right there. Chapter 1. It's in the middle of the Old Testament. You can't miss it. You're scattered abroad because you didn't abide by the commandments of God and the teachings and the laws and the commandments and the ordinances that I gave you through Moses. But if you return and do them, I'm going to restore you. I'm going to rebuild them walls. I'm going to give you that protection and that wisdom. And what he's saying, Warrior Saints, is for you and I. Fellas, it's time. Look, we're all sinners. I get it. I'm the worst. Candidly, if you knew my story and you had to be my spiritual father and hear my confessions, you would concur, right? Like you would get it. Crazy. I am a sinner as you are sinners. And it's not beyond God's power to forgive us. We just have to return and allow him to rebuild the walls of our hearts and of our minds, right? Like you can imagine the chaos that you and I face out there in the world, the struggles that we have with all of the pulling and the tugging and the disparate thought and the angst and the divisiveness and the fighting and the polarization of thought and truth that's out in the world, or perhaps even the lack of thought and truth, has led us to, and we've partaken of it, right? Like the world is crumbled as it is because we have partaken in it and permitted it and encouraged it. And the walls have come crumbling down. But if we return to God and do his commandments, he's going to build you up. He's going to do it. He's going to rebuild those walls. And we will find ourselves as warrior saints like we are supposed to be, back on track, truly becoming men, like kings, leading, powerful, protective kings who are also knights that have chivalry and thought and defense, and they're warriors defending the fatherless, the orphans, and the widows, both literally and figuratively. We're also become mentors, men who teach the next generation, say like, hey, young man or young woman, this is how life should be. We become great lovers, both at home in the bedroom with our wives, but also, more importantly, lovers of God, lovers of the world, and lovers of our fellow man. It is so imperative that as warrior saints, we become that king, that knight, that mentor, and the lover, and we do so by returning to the commandments of God. To do that, we're here to help you. We spend all of our time. We do one thing as a warrior saint in our ministry. One thing, one only, and that is to teach how to become warrior saints. You do that, to become that king, that knight, that mentor, and the lover that we strive to be, that every man wants to be, we do so by living a crucifixional life. And when you visit warriorsaints.org, we're going to show you how to do that. It ain't easy, and I don't want it to be easy. And if you want easy, turn me off right now and go find some other show to stroke your ego and make you feel good. But if you want real work and you really want to get it done and you want to see yourself being the very best that you can be, it's pretty simple. warriorsaints.org. Love you, beautiful people. We're going to be back tomorrow to talk about rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, not just in our own lives, but in the world around us. Until then, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.